Hi, this is Linda from Scallywag Astrology, and this is your weekly horoscope. We have quite an interesting week in store. We have three main events happening. We have the Sun opposing retrograde Uranus, then we have the full moon, and then we have the Sun conjunct retrograde Venus. So on the 23rd, we have the Sun entering the sign of Scorpio, and then not long afterwards, the Sun will oppose retrograde Uranus. When the Sun is opposed a superior retrograde planet, which is to say any planet outside Earth, so that is Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. When the Sun opposes one of those planets when it's retrograde, which means it looks like it's going backwards from our point of view on Earth, it tends to be a time when a situation comes to a head. In this case, we're talking about the planet Uranus, which is quite unpredictable and a little unstable in general. Uranus events tend to be exciting, shocking, out of the blue, revolutionary. So this could be quite a shock. It might be a few surprises in store for us. Uranus will be at 0 degrees Taurus. It was first came through and passed 0 degrees Taurus in direct motion back in mid-May. It's now changed direction and it's going backwards, and it's come up to this degree again. So you may find that events from mid-May might have some impact on what's happening at that time. On the 24th, the next day, we have the full moon, which is also known as the hunter's moon at 1 degree Taurus. A full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon, which means they're 180 degrees apart. Full moons tend to be about completion. If you think of the new moon as being a time of planting seeds and new beginnings, the full moon is about completion and harvest. So we have that going on in the Scorpio-Taurus axis. We will have had the Sun just past that opposition of retrograde Uranus, and the moon itself will have just passed over a conjunction, which means that two planets are together, and there tends to be a blending of the energies at that time. So the moon is our emotions. So we're likely to be quite emotional at the time. We would have just gone through that Sun opposition retro Uranus, and then the moon has passed over Uranus and it's kind of emotional and, jumpy is the word that's coming to my mind, just nervous energy, jumpy, little irritable. And then we have the Sun-Moon opposition. So it's not just a full moon, it's the Sun opposed Moon Uranus. So that's quite challenging. At the same time, as I said, the Moon and Uranus will be very, very close together. So they're kind of merging together. The Sun will not be as close to retrograde Venus, but it will only be about 3 degrees away from it. So the Sun retrograde Venus energy will be kind of almost melding. So you've kind of got a Sun retrograde Venus opposing Moon Uranus. Usually a Sun conjunct Venus is quite nice. It's very happy, very harmonious, quite a nice aspect. But at the moment, Venus is retrograde. For the last 3 weeks or so, Venus has had us reassessing our values and our relationships. When the Sun conjuncts retrograde Venus, it tends to be a time when we can project issues from the past onto our current circumstances. So if you're having relationship problems, there's probably a very strong possibility that you will you'll be kind of projecting issues from past relationships onto your current partner. So it's something to be aware of and to try to avoid. And just to make things interesting, at the time of the Sun conjunct retrograde Venus, which will be the 26th, that's 2 days after the full moon, the moon will have moved up. It will still be in Scorpio. Oh, it's Taurus, sorry. But it will be opposing Jupiter in Scorpio. And Jupiter is it's got a very good reputation. It's known as the planet of good luck. It's generous and giving and expansive. It's that expansiveness, though, that can make matters worse. If something's bad, it can certainly exaggerate that, and it can really inflame a situation. So we have that Sun conjunct retrograde Venus going on, and at the same time, the moon, which is our emotions, is being fanned by the flames of Jupiter, kind of just building the flames of any problems that are building. So that could be quite interesting. And we're talking about the Scorpio-Taurus axis here. Both of those signs are fixed. They don't like change in general. So there's changes coming, and a lot of people aren't going to be very happy with them. Thankfully, on the 27th, we have the Sun sextiling Saturn, which will lend a little bit of stability to proceedings. The sextile is a helpful aspect, so that's good. And Saturn is old reliable. Saturn's hard work, it's discipline, it's putting your nose to the grindstone. So wiser heads will prevail, hopefully. We'll go through all that turbulent issues of the week and then start settling it down. And then on the 28th, we have Mercury conjunct Jupiter. At this time, Jupiter is, as I said, it can be expansive. It's also generous. It's about learning. It's excited about possibilities. And we have Mercury, which is communications and ideas. So we'll be looking forward. We'll be looking, we'll be thinking a lot more optimistically. And with that conjunction, there is that possibility that Jupiter can have us kind of dreaming a little bit too big, I suppose. But I mean, there's certainly worse things you could do. Just to put a little bit of a fly in the ointment, though, we have Mercury entering its retrograde shadow period on the 28th. Mercury is going to be retrograde from November 16th to December 7th. And Mercury retrograde is a time when we usually have problems with electronics, cars, communications. But the shadow period is kind of like a buffer zone around that. And even though it's not the actual retrograde period, it does kind of, it's like the lead up to it, and things can get a little bit wonky. That shadow period will be from the 28th of October to the 24th of December. So right up until Christmas, we've kind of got a lot going on. I hope you found that interesting and helpful, and thank you for listening.